Hello, and welcome to Betrayal, a podcast about the board game Betrayal at House on the Hill. My name is Rory. If you have never played it, Betrayal at House on the Hill is a procedurally generated horror-themed board game. It starts off cooperative, and then at some point, a story mode called The Haunt is activated, one of the players becomes a traitor, and everything goes to hell. My goal is to play through all the haunts with various friends of mine. Today I am joined by Martin.
Thanks for having me.
Not at all. This is about the third time I've had you on this podcast now, by some counts.
Every time I die horribly.
Yes, even though this is the first episode, I have tried recording this a number of times and it has always had some kind of problem. But today we're feeling lucky, aren't we, Martin?
I'm feeling lucky, but I'm also remembering all the times I died screaming.
That's true. We have already played today's haunt, and it should be said that Martin did lose.
Ah.
That was the sound that Martin made when he died. So, today's haunt, do you remember what it was called, Martin?
The mummy. Mummering.
The Mummy Walks. Today's
Walks.
haunt is the Mummy Walks. Haunt number 1. So I should say, for the purposes of this podcast, we were playing a non-standard game because, A, we were playing 2-player, which is not the traditional way this game is played. It's a 3 to 6 player game, but because I don't have enough friends. I suffer from a severe lack of.
You killed them all.
Yep, I've killed them all in Betrayal too many times. I'm actually often not the traitor in Betrayal, it should be said. But anyway, so Matt and I played a 2-player game. We each played 2 characters before the haunt, and then the haunt happened. I was playing the traitor, so Martin took over my non-traitor character, and I became the traitor, and I was trying to help the villainous mummy.
You're very good at betraying people and murdering them and their friends.
Oh, stop. Say more things. That's at the top of my CV, that I'm very good at betraying people. Yeah, we still have the game laid out in front of us on my tiny kitchen table. My tiny, dingy basement flat table. So this game, this haunt number 1, I do think it's interesting that they start off with the mummy, that's the first.
Yeah, it's very chunky, very classic.
Yeah, I mean, because I've played through all the haunts before. Martin, this is your 3rd or 4th time playing Betrayal?
Correct.
Yeah. So I've played this a lot, and I've never really been able to determine in what order the haunts go. I've tried to apply logic to it. I remember I can't remember what my thinking on this one was, but haunt number 13 was doppelgangers, and I remember thinking, because 13 is unlucky, but it's no more unlucky to face a doppelganger than a mummy, I think.
Yeah, don't step on the crack and break your mother's back, and a gang of doppelgangers suddenly attack. What's the rhyme we learned?
That's what it says. That's the rhyme. Yeah. So this haunt number 1, the mummy. I won. I mean, I was gonna say I won easily as the traitor. You could have beaten me.
Yeah, I'm not that proficient with any game at all, really, but not this one. And juggling multiple characters, I should have paid better attention to the items.
Yeah, I mean, you could have. So, this was a very long game. This Betrayal fluctuates wildly in the amount of time it takes to play. This was a very long one. It was partially because we were playing non-standard manner, so we had to, instead of doing haunt rolls. So traditionally, when you play, every time someone picks up a card called an omen, you make a haunt roll, and if the number that you roll is fewer or less than the number of omens that are out, then the haunt begins. We didn't do that because we wanted to start with haunt number 1 for episode number 1 of this, so we just waited until we got the omen that we needed to trigger the haunt, which in this case is the girl. The girl is one of the omens, and so it took a long time. We had run out of ground floor tiles. There are 3 floors to the house that you're exploring. There's the upper floor, the ground floor, and the basement. We'd run out of ground floor tiles. We were very close to running out of upper floor tiles.
I think there are only 6 tiles left unused.
Yeah, that you would normally not go that long before, because we didn't discover any new tiles after the haunt began. You would normally have started the haunt long before that. So Martin had, you had like, you have 4 omens. I had 7. Yeah. So we were very close to being finished with. It was very much almost a maxed out game. But yeah, Martin could have won on his turn. So the Mummy Walks. It's one of the more involved haunts on the behalf of the traitor, because some haunts, and I have to admit I don't like this about these haunts, is some haunts it's just you have to kill everyone as the traitor, and that is one of the win conditions in the Mummy Walks. But there's also the win condition of the mummy needs to have the girl, the ring or the holy symbol, and be in the same room as his sarcophagus. And I managed to complete that. I was the traitor. I had control of the mummy, and I also had Professor Reinhardt in the game. Professor Reinhardt, not the best character to play in my opinion. Professor Reinhardt is one of the maximal characters. There are 2 characters who have like the maximum stats starting. There's Flash, who has maximum speed, and there's Professor Reinhardt, who has maximum sanity. And Professor Reinhardt, sanity doesn't come up that much.
Yeah, it's quite squishy. You
Oh God,
you
yeah.
almost got taken out by a single early game omen card.
Yeah, I got so Professor Reinhardt had pretty bad luck. He fell into the basement and hurt himself. He got beaten up by he got grave dirt in his lungs. These are all events in the game that lower your stats. And then I got the only bad omen. We're playing second edition. In third edition, there are no bad omens. In second edition, there's one bad omen, which is just you get an attack against you. And he got that and lost, and yes, very nearly died. So Professor Reinhardt was very nearly no more. But like, luckily, you didn't come and attack Professor Reinhardt, which I understand why, because you were quite far away and he was still stuck in the
I
basement.
just assumed he would die when a moth landed on him.
He'd just look at,
Crushed to death.
he'd just desiccate. He'd just be like, I'm so sane and old.
Powdery moth.
Yeah, but no, he managed to actually get the girl completely without issue, and then take the girl back to the sarcophagus room. And I mean, this is the twist of the Mummy Walks. So if you want to play this game without spoilers, I guess, stop listening now and go play this particular haunt. The mummy does not walk. The mummy can teleport. The title is entirely inaccurate.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
Well, so it should be said, the mummy has a speed of 3, so you roll 3 dice to see how far the mummy can move each turn. But if you roll a 0 or a 1, the mummy can teleport. Which, the reason they give is that the mummy uses a secret passage that he knows in the house. But this house was built after ancient Egyptian times, so I don't know how that happens.
Which reminds me, when you teleported into the Mystic elevator where I was, I think that you should have had to take a random roll to see where in the elevator shaft you wound up.
Sadly, it doesn't work that way. The Mystic... Oh my goodness. Do you want some serious betrayal lore, Martin?
I do.
Right, okay. I've played the prequel game. So there is a prequel called Betrayal Legacy, which is... it's a legacy board game, so it's like a season of TV, but in board game form. And you explore the house. It's like regular Betrayal, but it has more of an ongoing story in theory. The Mystic elevator is in the prequel game, but as the mundane elevator. It's literally called the mundane elevator, and it's just a normal elevator that can only go to certain rooms, and then it gets cursed by the devil into becoming the Mystic elevator.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's canonically, it wanted to be a normal elevator, and the devil himself used his hell magic, and now it goes wherever it needs to, and mummies can teleport into it. I think the mummy would not have been able to teleport into the mundane elevator.
That mundane elevator must have really pissed the devil off.
Yeah, I can't remember what the devil's plan is in Betrayal Legacy. I played Betrayal Legacy with my friends 2 years ago, enjoyed it immensely. The story as it is not well crafted. I take quite a few points away from them for that, to be honest. But yes, anyway, That's also how I know the house was built after ancient Egyptian times, because you literally see when the house is new in the Legacy game. So a little bit of lore for you there. I mean, maybe I'm being pompous. I do consider myself one of the world's foremost experts on Betrayal at House on the Hill. I went onto the Betrayal at House on the Hill subreddit and asked how many people have played through all the haunts in second edition, and no one who responded there has. So I don't know how many people have done that. I have done that. I made a concerted effort to do that. I think you helped me with that a little bit.
Uh, Perhaps.
I think Ouroboros, when we played the Ouroboros one together, that was
Oh God.
Martin is having flashbacks to the worm Ouroboros. Anyway,
Ah.
so yeah, the mummy does not walk most of the time. The mummy has a very interesting power set. The mummy has a sanity stat, and the mummy can only be defeated with sanity, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. But the mummy doesn't attack with sanity. The mummy just attacks with might.
He broke me in several places.
Yeah, the mummy is very mighty. He has 8 might. There's actually quite a few monsters that have 8 might. There's one monster, if we ever get there, I don't know how many episodes of this I'm going to end up doing. I notoriously, to me, I don't think I'm notorious in the wider world, to be honest. I don't think I'm famous enough. But notoriously to me, I never finish what I start. But in my head, I'm going to do all 50 haunts. We'll see about that. But there's only 2 monsters I can think of that have more than 8 strength. That it's very game breaking. It's very stupid because one of them is a demon god, which makes sense to me, and the other one is just a random statue that comes to life and for some reason has 12 strength. So it's stupid because it means you have to roll 8 dice, because there are only 8 dice that come with the game, and then roll a further, like pick up 4 of them and roll them again. It's fucking silly. Anyway, yeah, the mummy is very mighty. He's not particularly slow. The mummy is pretty ferocious.
Yeah.
And the mummy still has their Renfield, their traitor remains in the game for this one, because in some haunts the traitor dies immediately, but not in this one. So it's, I mean, I guess that's why they have the complicated thing for that the traitor has to complete to beat the mummy is not to beat the mummy, to win. The traitor has to get all these different items in one room, because there is a lot to do. But
I thought I'd nearly done it. I completed 2 pretty high sanity checks.
Knowledge rolls. Yeah.
Rolls on in
the library. Yeah. So to win, can you tell us your win condition? Do you remember it? Do you want to look at the survival guide again?
Yeah, I'll need to.
Yeah. Let's hold the pages up to the mic and do like an ASMR thing. Ooh, I'm reading. Oh, he's reading. Can you do your best?
Attempt a knowledge roll of 6 or greater to discover the mummy's true name in one of the following rooms. I'll just go to the room I was in. I believe I was in the research laboratory.
Yes, you were.
Scanning the archaeological team's vast set of notes. And when I succeeded, I took a knowledge roll token. I had to do that twice, which indicated that I'd discovered the mummy's true name. But I wasn't done, and I thought I was. I thought that was it, but I had to then travel to the mummy's location, where you'd had the girl.
Yeah, well, no, the girl has to be at least 5 tiles away from the mummy.
And then I would have had to speak the name, do a further knowledge roll of 6 or greater, and then speak the name in your presence and banish you.
Okay, wow, that's tough. Yeah, I had to get a bunch of stuff into one room, and I was pretty slow. So Martin did have 4 or 5 turns.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I would have had to defeat you in a sanity combat to complete the spell that banishes you forever.
Yeah. So that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot to do. I mean, you did have 3 characters under your control, but there was only so much that could be done by each of those characters. I mean, my main issue in getting things done was I was Professor Reinhardt, who had been beaten down by life and grave dirt, and so I was very slow.
Yeah, my characters were quite spread out too. One was very far away in the basement on the other side of a chasm tile,
Hmm.
and so there wasn't really. I was planning on trying to zoom around in the mystical elevator and pick some people up, but you pretty much destroyed Emily
Mm. I
with
mean,
one or two attacks. She was just obliterated.
yeah, I was lucky because I rolled a 0 on the first attack, so the mummy could just immediately teleport to where she was and beat the crap out of her using its 8 might, which is very very difficult.
Yeah, you didn't even roll that well on the first attack, and she was on her last peg.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's. I mean, the mummy is an interesting monster. I mean, it does have the teleportation thing to distinguish it. And I guess it wants something more than just to kill. So that does add a bit of flavor. I have to say, I'm not sure why it's like the mummy is looking for his bride, this modern day woman, which that's more of a Dracula thing than a mummy thing, I think.
Yeah, I thought they just wanted to drain your life force,
Mm.
but I guess they're also looking for love.
Mummies are not a monolith. They're a diverse group of people with individual. There are mummies who don't want any of that.
That's true.
Yeah. Um, so the Mummy Walks, the first one. What did you think of this haunt overall, given that it's one of 4 that you've played?
Um, did we win the last time we played this?
I think I was the traitor both times that we've played this one, and I think I won both times.
Yeah.
I should say about this as well. The Mummy Walks, as I said, it's one where the traitor does have a route to victory other than just beating everyone to death, which is the route that I took today. I could have easily also probably just beaten you to death. I mean, there were 3 of you, so it would have taken a while. But like, I think if I'd killed Ox, who this was a funny thing about the game going so long was Ox, who is normally a bit of a himbo. He's very physically strong, but his knowledge is very low. Just because of coincidence, Ox kept on getting these things that raised his intelligence stat. So Ox was your best bet in finding the mummy's name.
Yeah, I felt like I got close.
I mean, I could have just tried to beat Ox to death, to be honest. Which after that, it probably would have, severely dampened your ability to, especially because the mummy has a mechanic. Well, actually, I think because this is second edition, they get rid of this for third edition. In second edition, if you beat someone in a might attack by more than 2, you can just, instead of inflicting damage, you can just take their stuff. So I think if the mummy had just taken the book from you guys, you would have been fucked.
I will say I didn't feel as hopeless as some of the other haunts. There weren't too many monsters popping up
Yeah.
after the haunt began, where I did sort of think, okay, here's my path
Yeah.
to getting out of this nightmare.
Mm.
It wasn't until you showed up in the elevator.
A jump scare.
Yeah, basically one roll, my Emily character, and then yeah, and then I thought got pretty well screwed.
It is very funny to me to think of an ancient mummy knowing how to work an elevator. Like, not only like being able to teleport in, but then being like, and second floor. The mummy waking up in this house and being like, I know exactly where I need to go and how to get there and how to work the elevator to get there is pretty
Changing
funny.
the music
Mhm.
to something a little
Yeah.
more.
The mummy just making awkward small talk with Emily's corpse as they're going down, like, so, where are you from? I'm from Giza. I don't know if they were from Giza. They're in, this mummy's in Giza, right? I probably shouldn't have said that. Memphis.
That's
Cleopatra's in Memphis, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, damn. Okay, yeah. We had so many items and omens, and I feel we used almost none of them.
That's on me. I took for granted my companions
Hmm.
and my items.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they would have been much help apart from some of the passive stat raises.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think how you could have used them. The mask raises sanity, right? Or does it lower sanity and raise knowledge?
You gain knowledge and you lose sanity.
So you could have, when you were trying to make the roll to find the name, you could have used the mask.
Yes. No, that was on a different character.
Oh, okay. So was it Brandon who had that?
Yeah.
That this is part of the peril of playing two-player where you have multiple characters.
Yeah, I was planning on having Emily pick up Brandon in the elevator and bring him over to Ox's
Hmm.
location, but then she died horribly,
Yeah.
so I could not.
This is one of the funny things about Betrayal. I love this game, like truly with all my heart. But when you think about it, not as a game, but as like, if you think about it in story, like, it makes no sense for these people to be hanging out. So there is Professor Reinhardt, this 70-year-old professor who has apparently gone mad and decided to help a mummy, who is hanging out with um, a very a 20-year-old woman who was just wearing a sports bra and jogging pants, and Brandon, who's like a 9-year-old boy who likes to collect bugs, and also Ox, star football player. Um, I feel like I read somewhere. It's in one of the back of one of the instruction guides. They have like little bios. I feel like it says that the Emily is like the professor's lab assistant.
Okay.
I have no idea why Brandon's there. I think maybe a babysitter quit suddenly. So that's,
You gotta ask one of the neighbors.
yeah. One of the neighbors who is coincident. He's like, "Well, I'm exploring a haunted house today." They're like, "Oh, Brandon loves exploring. He'll be fine."
Maybe didn't have a babysitter, and this is what he does when left to his own devices, explores
Yeah.
haunted houses.
Brandon is an urban explorer. Brandon is filming this all for YouTube. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, normally as well, having such a large board would have helped you because the mummy wouldn't be able to get to you. Except that again, in the mummy walks, the mummy does not walk; he teleports. So, yeah, I was pretty well set. I mean, Professor Reinhardt was slow getting the girl, but that ultimately didn't hurt that much. This is interesting in that I do think this is one of the few haunts where the traitors and the players can, in theory, just not interact until the very end. I can win without ever meeting either you, like any of the players. Like the traitor can just gather all the things, put them in a room, does not have to talk to any, like does not have to interact with anyone else, and you have to come and beat the mummy with sanity, but that's only until the very end. Like as you said, in other haunts, like monsters keep popping up, you run into them constantly.
Yes, I'm flashing back to the Ouroboros one.
The Ouroboros one is terrifying because there's a two-headed giant snake that's slowly encircling the house, and if you end up, it's I haven't played this one in over a year, but it's something like if you end up in the same room as one of the heads, you pretty much just die instantly. I think I don't. There's a couple of haunts where it's like it's you're fighting something expansive that's like taking over the house, and they're always really annoying because it's like if you end your turn in the same room as this, you're dead, and there is just nothing you can do to stop it.
As it's filling up with the
Hmm.
serpentine body
Yeah,
that's
as
just smushing you against
that
the
snake
walls.
just engorges,
Ugh.
just just swallows you whole, the way that snakes are wont to do. Okay. Is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Is there anything you thought was interesting?
I would like to explore more with the companions. I was happy to get a dog. The dog, I believe, survived. Maybe the mummy just got what he was looking for.
You
This dog.
canonically cannot attack the dog,
Yeah.
because he's too good of a boy.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I love the dog. The dog is my favorite omen. This is just a personal thing. I always call the dog Mollusk. We didn't do this today. I forgot because we were in a bit of a time crunch. Martin is an extremely sought after actor here in Seoul City,
Eh,
and Martin had another meeting to get to. So we played. Martin went to his meeting, and then now we are recording. Um, so we had a bit of a time crunch while playing, so we didn't do this. But you are meant to bring out another token for the dog, a little monster token. And I always use, there are little green tokens with tentacles on them. So I always use one of those and call him Mollusk. Um, the dog is actually really useful in certain haunts because the dog can fetch and carry things. So if you had wanted to, for example, pass the book between the characters, the dog would have been useful for that. Sadly, that wasn't really possible, or it wasn't helpful particularly to do that for you. But yeah, the dog's great. We got a lot of the useless ones. The spirit board, which I think just lets you look at the top tile. Is that
I
correct?
believe so.
Yeah, it lets you look at the next room tile that you'll draw. But
If
if
you're
you,
the trader, you can use it to move monsters.
yeah, but like, oh my god, it's just not helpful. And especially because if you use it after the horn, it's like, and all the monsters come closer to you. You're like, wow, that was useful. I got the medallion, which it makes you immune to certain rooms effects, but like you by the like normally by the time of the haunt, you like those are the least of your concerns. I mean, it can, in very rare scenarios, it can be useful, but it yeah. Um, the I don't know. Those two are just. I think they're just there to really fill out the omens to 13. To be honest, but yeah, um, you got the candle. The candle is interesting to me only. So the candle does have a useful effect of if you draw an event card, you roll extra die while doing that event, which is a useful one. More interesting to me is the candle has an effect where if you have the bell, the book, and the candle, you gain 2 in each trait, which is super useful, super powerful. That has never happened to me in all my years playing this game. I've been playing this game for almost a decade at this point. No, because the candle and the bell are both items, and you very rarely draw item cards. We had a lot because we were just playing so long before the haunt started, but yeah, I've never seen that happen. We had the candle and the book today. We did not have the bell. I feel the bell very rarely gets drawn. I guess you were unfortunate in that I had the music box. The music box is really useful because the music box stuns monsters. But if the traitor has the music box, the traitor just doesn't open the music box, and then no monster's stunned.
It's interesting to me as I look at the table, and
Mm-hmm.
we've uncovered, as we said, almost every map tile except
Yeah.
for 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But although we had quite a few show up in the game, we still have barely touched the stack of event cards,
Mm.
omen cards more,
Mm-hmm.
and not that many item cards.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, as someone who hasn't played
Mm.
nearly as much as you, that yeah, there's a lot more for me to discover at least.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I love Betrayal is its variety. Every game really is different. Even like as I've said, I've played this haunt 4 or 5 times now, and this is not one of the haunts that I get sick of. I mean, there's some haunts that I just won't play anymore because they're kind of annoying. This isn't one of them, and there's actually very few of those. And every time you play it, it is different because you have different items, you have different stats, different rooms. The house is always laid out differently. So let's look at some of our stupid layouts for the. So in this house, you go from the entrance hall through the garden into the abandoned room. The chapel room is not attached to the organ room. So that's helpful. Uh, do we have any? Oh, the kitchen is right next to the charred room, but
That makes sense.
yeah. So I think maybe there was a kitchen fire that spread, but is weirdly removed from the dining room by a room. Um,
I think the chart room was the original dining room.
oh yeah, no, that would make sense. Yeah, I was really hoping in Betrayal Legacy you'd find out what happened to the charred room. That you don't. You do find out. My friend had a theory because there's one haunt where a woman like steps out of a painting, says thank you, and walks away. My friend theorized that that is actually the girl, as in the girl from this haunt, and I like that theory. What else do we have? The chasm. I don't. Well, I do know what. Again, actually, the chasm is explained in the. You make the chasm at. Well, the devil makes the chasm, I think. The wine cellar is through. You have to go through the catacombs to get to the wine cellar. It's very uh, cask of Amontillado.
Yes. Montresor.
Exactly. Okay. Do you have anything else you wanted to discuss about this haunt?
No, I'm eager to play another round.
Yes.
I
Well,
promise I'm gonna take better care of my items and companions this time.
it's okay. I won. I don't care if you don't do that. It's not my. It's when I'm on the same side as you and you don't do that. That's when it's. But yeah. No, today it really worked out for me. Yeah. What else do we have to say today? Not that much really. Martin, do you have? This is a genuine question. Do you have social media where you'd like people to sort? If anyone listens to this, which I'm doubtful of, but if anyone does listen to this, do you have social media where people can seek you out?
Mart in soul. Mart period in period soul.
And is that on Instagram?
That is.
Okay. I should know that. You follow me on Instagram. I'm sorry. I do follow him back. I'm Rory Kelly Comedy. No periods, no spaces, no underdashes, just Rory Kelly Comedy. All one word, I guess, on Instagram and Blue Sky. I think that's also my handle on Blue Sky. Yeah. Um, Hopefully this won't be our only ever episode, but as I've said, I am notorious to myself for never finishing anything, so it could well be. But if it is, I think it was a good one. Thank you so much for talking with me, Martin.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
Bye.